One last item I'd like to talk about was in the last 6, 8 weeks of my tour in Vietnam, I was designated as one of the instructor pilots to teach the Vietnamese how to do our mission that we were flying. That was kind of semi-successful, which I'll explain why, but we would take Vietnamese Air Force crews who had many, many thousands of hours flying the C-119 because that was a plane that the Vietnamese used extensively in their part of the war for us. They mainly carried cargo and people from one point to another, but many of the pilots that I taught had 10 to 20,000 hours of flying time in this 119, so they knew how to fly the plane extremely well. What they didn't understand and didn't know how to do was how to shoot the targets that we were aiming at and to be aggressive enough to protect the ground people. So we started out our missions. We would, on an instructor crew, we would have an instructor pilot, we'd have an instructor navigator, and we'd have an instructor gunner. And that was the instructor crew for the Vietnamese. And again, most of them, they knew their job except for the shooting part. So I would let the Vietnamese pilot take off and fly out to the area, and then he would use my call sign to call the ground commander, the Cambodian ground commander, to see if he could use any of our help. And unfortunately, the Cambodian ground commander, he recognized the Vietnamese voice as not being mine, Shadow 26, and most of the time when we would say we're available, the Cambodian ground commander said, "Oh, no, we're fine. We don't have any problems. Thank you for coming by and have a nice day," and go on. And about half the time at least, I would get on the radio myself and I'd say, "Hey, whatever the ground commander's call sign was, this is Shadow 26. Are you sure you can't use our help?" And, "Oh yeah, Shadow Gene, we can use your help." Says we give you the geographic coordinates for where we are and where the enemy is, and if you can put bullets down on them and chase them away, we would be happy. And they just did not trust, the Cambodians did not trust the Vietnamese for probably multiple reasons. We never did really learn out all the reasons, but it was enough to know that they weren't going to be that successful unless they changed their attitude toward each other. And so then we would get the Vietnamese to go roll into the firing circle and try to put some bullets down. And unfortunately, a lot of the times when we would start shooting down at the ground, well, the ground would start shooting back at us because they didn't want us killing them. And as soon as we could see some tracers coming up toward the plane, usually the Vietnamese pilot would say, "Okay, pilot says we shoot our guns, we go home now." And I go, No, we shoot back. You shoot where the bullets come at you. And so it took quite a bit of convincing to get them to be aggressive enough to drive the enemy back and help our ground commanders. So, but I enjoyed doing it in a way because it was nice, being able to teach these Vietnamese better how to defend themselves, because we knew we were all getting ready to go home. This was toward the middle of 71, and the war was definitely winding down, and we were turning our entire mission over to the South Vietnamese Air Force. My last mission that I flew in Vietnam, we'd had a fairly successful run, and we were on our way back, and I, using the intercom, called up to the Vietnamese pilot, and I said, "Hey, pilot," says, "this is my very last mission in a gunship and my last mission in the Air Force. I'm going back to the States next week." And I said, "Would you mind if I landed the aircraft?" And this major that was the Vietnamese pilot, "Oh, yes, sir." He says, "Please come up here." He said, "I'll unbuckle and you can have the seat." And so he got out and I jumped in the seat. And I had not really flown in probably 6 weeks of driving the plane myself. And so I wanted to make this last landing a good one. And so we had good weather. That it was a daytime mission. The weather was good, no bad winds or no storms or rain or anything like that. We brought it around final approach, and I had everything set just right. The Vietnamese co-pilot, he just sat there in the seat. He didn't ever talk much. He didn't have much responsibility. His job was to raise the gear, lower the gear, raise the flaps and lower the flaps, and that was his only job. And so we came in, and I made probably the best landing I'd ever made in a 119. So smooth that the people in the back of the plane didn't even realize we were really on the ground until we put the props in reverse and slowed down. So I was really proud of my last attempt to land this gunship that I had found a lot of fun and a lot of love for.